Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. I was recently digging into some fascinating data on the green supply chain, and it highlighted a massive, honestly sleep-depriving paradox for managers: the intense friction between ecological sustainability and logistical profitability. Let's dive in and look at how modern operations are actually trying to balance the two.
Which brings us to the ultimate question we're unpacking today. Is going green just a heavy financial burden like a cost center we just sort of accept for good PR, or is it actually a hidden competitive advantage? Keep that in the back of your mind as we unpack the real-world realities of modern logistics.
All right, to get to the bottom of this, here's our roadmap. First, rethinking business success. 2, the product's entire journey. 3, strategies and structural hurdles. 4, the infrastructure clash. 5, the transparency mandate. And 6, the profitability paradox. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. Rethinking business success beyond the margin.
To really understand the green supply chain, we kind of have to look backward first. Back in 1994, a business consultant named John Elkington totally revolutionized corporate thinking by coining the triple bottom line. Now, this wasn't just some trendy PR move, it was a fundamental framework shift. He argued that success shouldn't just be measured strictly by profit margin, but by a company's holistic impact on people and the planet, through things like sustainably sourced materials. And what's crazy is that this framework is over 30 years old, yet it is literally the absolute foundation of everything we're talking about today.
Notice how these three elements, profit, planet, and people, overlap and interact. By decreasing environmental harm, reducing energy, waste, and water consumption, and by ensuring you have a positive impact on human populations, you aren't just being altruistic. You are actively protecting that profit core. Balancing these three pillars fundamentally protects the business itself by reducing operational risks and preventing massive supply chain disruptions.
Section 2, the product's entire journey, tracing the life cycle.
So, supply chain sustainability isn't just about the final product sitting on a shelf. It's about looking at the environmental and human impacts across 4 distinct steps of its physical journey. 1, raw material sourcing. 2, production. 3, delivery. And 4, recycling. Any serious sustainability effort absolutely has to account for what happens at every single one of these physical nodes.
Notice how the entire process forms a continuous loop by linking raw material sourcing all the way through to production, delivery, and recycling. The overarching goal across every single step is to build long-term resilience. You're meeting modern consumer expectations while actively mitigating environmental harm across the product's entire timeline. Really, it's about shifting away from pure consumption and moving toward long-term value retention.
Section 3, strategies and structural hurdles, the brutal reality.
Look, we have to acknowledge the very real, brutal friction supply chain managers face every single day. On one side, you have these noble operational goals: lowering your impact, adopting sustainable sourcing, and meeting buyer expectations. But slamming right up against that, you have massive structural hurdles, skyrocketing upfront costs, and a severe scarcity of green materials. And this is often caused by incredibly complex, fragmented, multi-tiered supplier networks. The goal is clear, sure, but the path is just full of really tough obstacles.
When you actually try to optimize logistics, balancing costs, speed, and reliability, you immediately hit roadblocks. Take fluctuating oil prices, for instance. They completely skew planned shipping costs. Or worse, you realize your rigid, outdated IT infrastructure treats modern AI routing tools like a completely foreign language. And trying to track goods end-to-end to verify ethical claims? Well, that means facing high implementation costs and some pretty deep reluctance from suppliers.
Section 4. The infrastructure clash: linear versus circular. While reading through the source data, this one reality really stood out to me. Supply chains are facing, quote, extreme operational friction caused by attempting to force reverse logistics into traditional linear models. You can't just flip a switch and magically be sustainable when your physical and economic infrastructure was built decades ago for a completely different purpose. We are looking at a fundamental crash here. The linear reality is that traditional supply chains were built for one-way efficiency: source, make, waste. Just get the goods out the door. But modern sustainability requires a circular demand: reverse logistics to recover materials and retain value over the long haul. This clash is the ultimate friction point. Older systems fundamentally resist two-way material flow. It's honestly like trying to shove a square peg into a round hole, creating massive economic and operational hurdles for any organization making the transition. Section 5. The Transparency Mandate. Visibility as defense.
Going green drives an absolute, non-negotiable need for total supply chain visibility. Organizations must track goods strictly from source to consumer. Why? Well, think about the hidden threats lurking deep within these fragmented networks. Multi-tiered supplier networks can obscure the true origin of materials, which creates critical business risks. So, despite those high implementation costs and supplier pushback we talked about earlier, total visibility is an absolute mandate if you want to actually verify your environmental claims.
Because transparent data isn't just some regulatory chore, it is an active shield. It acts as what's known as a data defense. Strict tracking of your carbon footprint and verifying ethical sourcing allows you to back up your claims with hard numbers. This transparent data is literally your only defense against accusations of greenwashing. And when you can prove your claims are real, you successfully appeal to eco-conscious consumers and easily secure green investors.
And that defense unlocks the green growth flywheel. This is the really exciting part, because these disjointed strategies actually synergize into a closed-loop cycle. You integrate eco-initiatives, which reduces your footprint. Then you combine that with statistical optimization, data-driven insights that streamline distribution, lower operational costs, and cut down on waste. The result? This verified lower impact attracts conscious consumers, transforming your eco-awareness into a hardcore competitive advantage. That captures market share, drives long-term profitability, and maximizes revenue to fund even more green tech. It's amazing. Ecological responsibility translates directly into market dominance.
Section 6. The profitability paradox. Eclipsing the disadvantages.
So, let's circle back to that core premise from the very beginning. Can the heavy lift of sustainable business logistics truly be profitable? With all the friction, all those upfront costs, and the infrastructure clashes we just explored, is the juice actually worth the squeeze?
Think of this dynamic like a seesaw. Yes, the profitability paradox means true sustainability demands a massive initial investment and causes real structural friction. That heavy block weighing down the planet pillar, the steep upfront capital and complex operations, is absolutely the heaviest left. But when a company successfully balances the triple bottom line, those complex disadvantages are eventually totally eclipsed by compounding advantages on the other side. Lowered utility costs, elevated brand reputation, streamlined efficiency, and surging ethical consumer demand, they all pile up to tip the scales in your favor.
The ultimate takeaway is this: balancing sustainability with profitability fundamentally builds long-term resilience. Green initiatives cease to be a cost center, and instead, they actively bolster your overall profits. The data makes it abundantly clear. Sustainable business logistics are inherently profitable logistics, provided you can navigate that initial structural friction to get the flywheel spinning.
So, I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought to consider. If sustainable logistics are inherently profitable logistics, if they actively protect your business from risk and help you capture market share, what is stopping your supply chain from making the leap today? Is it outdated infrastructure, hidden networks, or just a hesitation to truly embrace the triple bottom line? Think about it and consider how you can apply these insights to your own operations. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. I'll catch you next time.